Colleagues, as we sit here today, we do so faced with an existential threat that is the greatest challenge of our time, perhaps even of all time: climate change. Joseph Stiglitz has described it as our world war, appropriate, I think, today on the anniversary of D-Day. His analogy is that we didn't ask the question during previous world wars as to whether we could afford to fight them, and the potential global catastrophe that awaits our inaction means that we shouldn't use the same excuse today. The reality is we cannot afford not to fight this battle. Warming oceans, melting glaciers, rising sea levels and extreme weather patterns are all consequences of generational damage that we're already having to deal with. But they'll pale into insignificance if we see the food shortages, wildfires, mass migration and disease at a biblical scale all realised if our global and, yes, our local response is not strong enough and delivered urgently. Now, for me, being a glass half full person, it means that we should be looking at these events as opportunities for human ingenuity and progress. And whilst we, of course, need to act at a global and geopolitical level, we also need to do our bit at a local level. If we get our response right on the environment, we have the chance to improve health outcomes and increase life expectancy, improve the air that we breathe and preserve the planet that we live on, and at a more basic level, capitalise on the fourth industrial revolution to create the high-quality, high-value jobs for the next generation. So I want to speak about some of the opportunities before us today. We, as a country, have set ourselves some pretty ambitious targets for carbon reduction. Nationally, we're committed to an 80% reduction in our emissions by 2050. But here, in the Liverpool City region, I've committed that we will be net carbon zero by 2040. Now, that really is hugely ambitious. But we have the technological ability and transformational opportunities to be able to make this aspiration a reality. Just look at what we've already achieved over the last few years. We've taken huge strides in decarbonising our power grid with international success stories such as offshore wind, biomass and solar. This clean electricity will also help us to power the electric vehicles and heating systems of the future. However, previously, no one could provide a viable alternative to the methane used in our gas grid until now. The rapid development of a hydrogen alternative gives me increasing confidence that we can capitalise on a new technology to reuse and repurpose our existing systems to heat our homes and power our energy-intensive industries. For our city region and the wider northwest, there are clear benefits from hydrogen use. It can provide a critical part of our transport infrastructure, focused as a direct replacement for heavy diesel engines in freight, bus, rail and shipping. And I welcome Caden's report today demonstrating how the existing gas grid could be used to deliver hydrogen for vehicles. But crucially, above all else, hydrogen has the potential to provide new, high-value jobs. Our industry legacy, our industrial legacy and cluster of those energy-intensive industries here puts us in a preeminent position to take full advantage of the decarbonisation programme. So in the Northwest, we've come together in recognition that our assets transcend political administrative boundaries. In fact, we've already demonstrated a newfound sense of collaboration when last year myself and somebody called Andy Burnham joined forces to launch the HyNet project in Manchester. To date, that programme is progressing well with a number of grants being issued, work commissioned and in some cases, construction already underway. But I was clear when we launched HyNet that it was just the start, that we couldn't just rest on our laurels and that we need to redouble our efforts to secure even more funding to meet our ambitious aims. After all, the government, and it's not often that I say this, have made it clear that there is money on the table for viable bids. So that's why, again in February this year, we, the Liverpool City region, the Cheshire authorities and Greater Manchester came together to submit a strong bid for even more decarbonisation funding, and our bid was both robust, clear and unambiguous. It demonstrates from the outset that we already possess expertise in our area and assets that in individual geographical locations are special on their own, but by combining our synergetic strengths, we have a cluster that can become a world leader in hydrogen, carbon capture and energy storage. And the Liverpool City region can be at the forefront of this emerging sector. In fact, we have ambitions to become Britain's renewable energy coast. Our low-carbon economy is currently one of our biggest success stories, worth £2 billion to the city region, and it employs 22,000 people already. But each and every day we're improving on that impressive record. Over recent years, we've added significantly to our clean energy capacity, and we're already an area that generates 1 gigawatt of offshore wind from Barebow Bank, with plans to triple that capacity by 2028. We've begun work on a tidal project on the River Mersey that could generate enough clean energy to power 1 million homes, and potentially to use this clean power to produce local hydrogen through hydrolysis during off-peak and low demand times. But people will always ask this question, it's what have the Romans ever done for us? What else have we done? In February this year, I launched a £10 million green investment fund available to SMEs. As a transport authority, we'll introduce a fleet of 25 hydrogen buses next year, transporting people across and around our region whilst emitting nothing but clean water into our atmosphere. And at Alston, literally a stone's throw away from where we are today, the first trains will arrive to be converted to hydrogen this year, with more orders already in the pipeline. On top of all this, we're creating a truly integrated transport system fit for the 21st century, which will encourage people out of their cars by providing a genuine public transport alternative. 7 out of 10 buses in our fleet are already low emissions, and we have ambitions to go way beyond that. We're investing £460 million into brand new rolling stock that will be cleaner and greener than our current fleet. We've put £16 million into the first down payment of a 600-kilometre walking and cycling network, and there'll be more announcements on that. And we've established a clean air task force to examine solutions to the problems with air quality in many of our areas. Every day, new and bold ideas are emerging, daring us to be more courageous and inspiring us to go even further. I call this now Kloppism. I'm sure you'll all agree that this is already an impressive start to what we've done in 2 and a bit years. And I envisage that in a few years' time, the Liverpool City region will have its very own Green New Deal, supported by hundreds of millions of pounds, creating opportunities for growth, innovation and modernisation. As a combined authority, we declared a climate emergency a fortnight ago because we believe that the time for action is now. In conclusion then, what I'm highlighting today is massive progress, but also the opportunity to do much more, and that's for you to seize that opportunity. You're the people with the expertise. You're the people with the knowledge and the know-how. You're the entrepreneurs who can really look at this sector and perhaps find solutions that haven't yet been identified. I believe, and I genuinely do believe, that we can become an international centre for hydrogen by harnessing our potential and delivering real scaled projects quickly. I see hydrogen as a fundamental part of an integrated clean energy and transport system for the Liverpool City region and throughout the Northwest. We've created opportunities for new jobs, for better transport, for cleaner air, but we could create more, and we're bringing the UK closer to the targets set by our government. However, with more funding and support, we can bring even greater benefits to UK PLC, because we have the technologies, we have the expertise, we have the companies, and I can assure you, as David said earlier, we have the political will to drive this agenda forward. Thanks very much for your time.